Here we go, here we go. With a red backpack, red hat, and red, you can't see because it's on the phone, but to the mountain we go, rock and roll, and yours truly, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and supposedly it's a big storm coming, so I took those rain pants. I see the clouds here and there, it seems to have dissipated, but supposedly a powerful storm. Now the sun, my king, the Pope is shining. So from my neighborhood, NDG, Côte-des-Neiges, Citoyen, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce in Montreal, Hokkaido, and HAWK, for the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, Democratic, Republican, pro-labor, love, universal, revolutionary, centrist, calling for a concordium, a understanding across the North American collective, a public-private partnership, and a Dragon versus Trump special have been done when we'll challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border for a resolution of the tariffs and the creation of a common passport, common currency, and the public-private partnership fusion of Canada and United States thereof via my dream, which is fundamentally a public-private partnership across the North American collective, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll. So, something which we gotta do, and that's how we gotta do it here when we cross the street brutally. We gotta get on the go and get a little bit of the sunlight, super nice, super sun, and watch the cars when you pass the street, because of course you gotta get prudent. The cars is hot and people are stressed with the growing financial stress, myself included, $10,000 in debt. But my case is special because I have Asperger's, and in my community we're not a lot, it's a tiny small fraction of the population, and of course my community suffers from lots and lots of high unemployment, and I had many jobs, but unfortunately due to of course this neurological mental divergent condition, it makes me of course predisposed to certain characteristics, and of course those characteristics make us a bit weird, a bit awkward, a bit eccentric, and we lack certain characteristics or certain knowledge, wisdom, and understandings of certain social settings, and the way we interact of course socially can be a bit weird and awkward and sometimes direct and similarly offensive because of this neurological mental divergent condition that our brains have these mutations at the micro level. And again, Asperger's is not a mental illness, it is a neurological mental divergent condition which makes us predisposed to those special weird awkward way that we interact. But now when it comes to our special interest, also known as obsessive interest, there we excel, we're pretty good. Myself, I'm super good, super great, super excellent when it comes to geopolitics, and I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist urging sportsmanship for the Marines deployed in LA, for the Marines and for the police, sportsmanship. I'm gonna Dragon Zero, aka General Limdick Dicklet, is gonna put a foul on the plane, give you some penalties, our fellow citizens, and we need to work to give certain amnesty, I guess, as this Quebecer Canadian North American was born in the USA twice, served twice in the United States Army, was born in the USA twice in the past life, and of course here, gonna wait to cross the street, and then we're gonna go hydrate a little bit, and gonna get a little bit of sunshine, and get it for all my brothers and sisters who are here in the North American collective. Black, white, or brown, pledge your allegiance, that is the rock and roll song, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And I played that black and white and rainbow, was born in the United States 3 times, once as a woman, twice as a man, served in the same United States Army, 156 years apart, and different wars 156 years apart. So that's why I'm asking, calling for restraint, because I get those military drills, but you never know, sometimes you gotta be careful when you cross the street, even if it's my way to pass, because the cars can come fast and the brakes malfunction, the citizen driver might press the accelerator. So all those are things which of course can happen under the normal circumstances of things. Those are the things which we gotta be aware of, most fundamentally in essence, as we gotta get drilling with that. And a beautiful dog there, I can't pet them much, but I like them from afar, the dogs, I can't pet them much because of course they gotta get it on the go, and gotta get it on now for the XYZ, and we gotta get it on the go, eh? Beatles fan, eh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you like that rock and roll?
I do.
AC/DC, well, you got a double trouble there.
AC/DC, I love them too.
I rock and roll 24/7, me, hey?
Yeah, I was in a band back in the 60s.
Oh my goodness, that's cool.
Yeah.
You still remember some songs you sang? Okay, no
lot
problem.
of Beatles stuff.
No pressure. Yeah? Did you ever write songs?
No.
Yeah.
My friend did, John.
Yeah.
He wrote and he He wrote the music and he wrote the songs.
You want to hear my song?
Which one?
You want to hear one of my songs?
Sure.
I'm in the sun, the Holy One. I never paid my rent today. I'm gonna pay it tomorrow. I ain't got no money for the guitar, but I swing it up and down as you go for the scars. Oh yeah, I sing rock and roll 24/7, buddy.
All right.
That was mine, created right now.
Good man.
You want me to hold it for you?
No.
You're good? You go ahead.
No, I'm not into that.
Okay, I thought you were gonna drink some water.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I live right there, but I used to live down
Nice.
there with my dad.
I live there. I'm Park Row East, Park Row West. I rock and roll every day, but my problem is I have Asperger's, you know? You know what Asperger's is? So I have these mutations of the brain and social interactions can be difficult, you know? I don't understand social cues too well. I have to be told more directly. If I get too close to you, you have to tell, can you please... Like, it's not a mental illness. Basically, our brains are mutated. So I see the world differently.
All right.
We're not harmful, we're not violent, it's just we can seem so, but we're not. It's just Asperger's.
At least you shaved. I didn't shave.
I like that. And sometimes we don't get jokes, but you know, stuff like that. Asperger's.
Don't worry about it. I don't worry about things like that.
Yeah.
It's trivial in my book.
It's not that well known. It's not that common. It's not a common thing. It's very rare.
Well, when I was in the military, we had all kinds of stuff.
Canadian Armed Forces, U.S. Armed Forces.
U.S. It was in Nam. And
67 to 73.
it was 66, 65, 66.
I gotta salute.
God.
Salute the vets. That's how we're gonna rock and roll.
You know, I didn't shoot anybody.
Vietnam.
The only thing I ever shot was targets. They had 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet. But I was so good that they wanted to put me on this thing to go to Vietnam. I said, no, I don't want to go there. I'm not into killing people.
Me neither. The only violence I would commit is for self-defense.
Yeah.
I'm a non-interventionist. I don't like.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't like intervening in foreign affairs, foreign wars too much.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in uniting Canada and the United States for a defense complex, but besides that, I'm not. I don't like violence. I lived violence. I was attacked by surprise, and I almost died. I was bloodied up. I went to the hospital, but because I'm different, you know. So I was attacked because of my difference, and since then I work out and always hyper vigilant. Yeah.
Well, I don't worry about any of that. I was in Nam, and I saw a lot of shit.
You made it out,
Well,
and
no,
you guys built all this, so I gotta
didn't build
respect
any
you.
of this.
None. Anyways, I gotta go.
Okay, dude. Take care, eh?
Stay safe and
I will.
AC/DC or Beatles.
Beatles.
There was a fellow old senior citizen there, but you know, he was from the US, and we just spoke a bit, and I remind myself that he was, of course, in Nam, and of course in a past life I also served in the United States military, 2 different wars, 156 years apart. So that's why now I'm urging the Marines deployed, the National Guard deployed, you know, because I was part of the US Army contingency, as I am today calling for the creation of the 7th, because we got six armies, and creation of the Dragon Army North American complex for the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories. Sportsmanship. Foul on the play, just like football. You know, dancing is my favorite sport, but I love football. Gridiron, you know, I'm a 49ers fan, and of course I call, of course, for the building of the North American Imperial complex. That sports in perpetuity is 24/7, where me and Donald Trump are gonna inaugurate it, and that's how we're gonna do it. You know, we're gonna inaugurate the complex, and that's what it is, and that's how we gotta be building with that. You know, so it's something which we have to do, and some things which we gotta be doing. You know, today we're gonna pass a little bit of go rock and roll to that XYZ, and that's how we're gonna get it. A little bit of fridge there, and a little bit of fridge today, and a little bit of beautiful. You know, he was wearing the AC/DC hat and the Beatles hat, so I said, wow, which one he favors, and You know, he's got a, I don't have a, my favorite is actually underground, not that well known. It's called Death SS, you know, Death SS. Death SS is a metal band from Italy. They sing some hardcore rock and roll songs, so they're not that well known. I actually met only one person in the past 7+ years, because, you know, if I go back 8, 9, 10 years, my memory blacks out, but that was, of course, the one that I gotta do, you know, so that's how we gotta get drilling with that, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling, you know. I'm gonna check what the fridge is here. See, we got this fridge, gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get it to see, gotta be grateful for this. I'm not gonna touch it today, but somebody's gonna come and they're gonna take their fridge, and gotta thank the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, truckers, firefighters, plumbers, and electricians, and all those involved, you know. Gotta get it for them, and that's what it is with that. And I'm just gonna take these peas, you know, and this little thing, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So it's something which we gotta get doing, you know, for the lava side of things, and that's how we gotta get doing, man. Gotta be grateful for the things we have, you know. Civilization is a privilege. All this civilization is a privilege. Running water, electricity, you know, all this civilization is a privilege, and I think I'm gonna have to put these back there, see? Cut greens, or I have to use them right away because they're, of course, they're damaged a bit, so I guess I got my own scars and damage, and always healing on that go, and always healing on the go side of things, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get on that rock and roll for the go, and for the left, for the right, for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses, for the truckers, and doctors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, and that's how we gotta get doing there. I wonder how much rent is there, you know. I wonder how much rent is there to be paid, you know. Any rent there to be paid? I don't know. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with the XYZ, you know, to get it on the do and get it on the left, right, bakers, butchers, nurses, and doctors, firefighters, plumbers. Look at these beautiful flowers here. So I'm just gonna stop here a little bit and make it on the go, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. This is what we gotta get drilling with that. Nice. Look at that. So just gonna do a little bit of gymnastics here. Put it in the backpack. We're gonna first disinfect it. This I gotta eat. Oh, yeah. This I gotta eat. Make sure my work tool is well placed, because I got this new phone, so I gotta work, of course, on and go to that, and that's how we gotta get put in on that. See, has a little dent there, so I guess I'm gonna have to eat it within the next week, because otherwise it's damaged. I'm just gonna make sure it's product of Canada, you know. Just gonna make sure that it's, of course, ready to go, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get on the go side of things, and that's what we're gonna get. Now it gets a little bit of got a little bit of heavier, the backpack, not that much, not that heavy, but a little bit. Let me see if I can get an extra, if I can get this cleared, I can get some salad, you know. So I changed my mind. I'm gonna get a little bit of bag, and I'm gonna go get some salad there, you know. Oh, I got this. This is perfect. So this is perfect for me to get a little bit of salad. So I'm gonna go get a little bit of salad with that, and go to the fridge, and then we're gonna go zip it by the other side. So welcome on this journey, you know, every day, and that's what it is with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing for the thinking about the butchers, the bakers, and of course I'm urging the National Guard and the Marines some restraint, of course prudence and sportsmanship, you know, sportsmanship just like football. You get foul on the play here from Hawk Island, from the mountain where I'm heading, you know, my second home from the mountain, and that's what we gotta get doing with the drill. And see, we got some workers, and I was part of the U.S. Armed Forces and in the past, and that's what we gotta get doing for the love, man. Gotta get doing on the light side of things, and that's how we gotta get doing on the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the doctors and the firefighters, and that's what it is with that. And gonna get back to getting a little bit of that, and that's how we gotta get doing, man. Always gotta get it for the plumbers, electricians, and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, firefighters, and gonna get back to the fridge and Gonna take a little bit of salad right here. You know, that's all we gotta get doing, you know. For the left, for the right, for the butchers, for the bakers. That's how we're gonna get drilling. Here we are. Oh, yeah. On this, man. Starters, and that's what it is, man. Get some starter with that, and that's how you're gonna rock and roll, you know. Look at that. Nice. Oops. That's what you're gonna get doing. Gotta be washing. Gotta wash it. Gotta wash. If you don't wash it, you gotta wash. Wash it, you know. You gotta wash it. And you gotta wash it with that, you know. This is salad, so gonna make myself a salad with this once I get back, you know. So I'm gonna get that putting in the backpack again, and I decided to take a little bit of salad because my anonymous friend likes a little bit of salad with that, and you know, financially stressed, financially struggling. I'm gonna send some salutation. Maybe this comes all the way from California. I'm gonna have to remove on the mountain some. I'm gonna have to remove some from the mountain, I guess, because it's biodegradable, so I have to remove some of the lettuce pieces. But here we are, you know, Mount Royal. I'm heading towards my second home, and this is where we're gonna put the salad and in the backpack once we reach that corner there. And for the radishes, I love radishes, and that's what it is with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing with the rock and roll. And for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, IT workers now, those changing diapers in the daycares, gotta salute them. And Dragon Army protocol, you know, for the 63 is of course we gotta go changing some of those diapers, you know. Gotta go change some of those diapers, you know. Gotta go change some of those diapers in the daycare at least once a month before you put a uniform to serve. And as I'm calling for the 7th Army of Boys, the USA and Canada, that's what we gotta do with it, with some shells. And somebody did some good art here, as I saw yesterday, where there was some shells, and that's how we can play a little bit of that. So fun for the. Yeah, I love this little piece of art, you know. This embellishes the neighborhood. So always as an artist myself, rock and roll artist, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And so we gotta get on that rock and roll things, and so we gotta get on that beautiful things at the side. And I encourage that creativity. Citizen initiative and public-private partnership is all I'm about. PPP, my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, is of course a call for a public-private partnership across the North American Civilizational Collective, across North America. That's how what we gotta drill it, and that's how we gotta rock and roll. So here we are. We're gonna put it in the backpack again, and we're gonna put the backpack. And here we need to remove the weeds, but I'm going to contact, I guess, the people in charge of this, and because we need to do a lot of removal of the weeds. And this salad has a lot of birds, but here, because here, you know, you got the soil, so you can put it there, and it's biodegradable here. It's a community garden, and everybody from the community can serve their self from this garden. So that's why those little pieces here, I can put them here for the soil. So that's going to be a little bit of good, you know, because they're compostable, and a lot of these leaves as well, you know, compostable with that. So that's how we're gonna put them here, you know, some of these and some of that, because it's going bad. So I hope somebody takes the rest, otherwise it's gonna be, you know, and you need to wash it, of course. You need to wash it. And some good lettuce, but a lot of parts have been going on the bad side. See, they're going bad. It's just washing them, and that's what it is with that. So it's wash, and do, and that's how we gotta get doing, and that's how we gotta get removal of the bad parts, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll with it. And see, get it now, and that's what it is, and that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll, man. See, we got some lettuce I got some salami at home. I'm gonna make some salami, so I'm gonna roll it in and put it in the backpack. That's how we're gonna get drilling, and that's what we're gonna get doing here. Got some radish, and these ones I'm gonna disinfect because I forgot to do it before. I'm gonna do it now. Better late than never, you know. Super important to keep the hygienic protocols that were kept during COVID. So I got this made in Canada here. See? Oh, it's gonna have to use it now. See? Gonna have to use it, and that's what it is, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And we're gonna get on that drilling. So see, look at that. And we got Canada. Antiseptic hand sanitizer. It's an antiseptic hand sanitizer. And antiseptic hand sanitizer. Gotta get dirty, get back clean, and now we're good to go, you know, for the long journey to the mountain. And then, of course, for the long journey coming back, you know, because my headquarters, underground room office and temple, is still small, but it's bigger than where I used to live, you know. And besides, where I used to live, it was way smaller. It was like a prison cell, you know, like a small, moldy prison cells. So I guess I served my time. So now we're gonna put it in, and now it's got about 44 pounds, you know. So do that, it's got 44 pounds with it. That's why we're gonna rock and roll, and feels good now, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with it, you know. Now I feel good, workout, training, exercising, you know. Now I got a big smile. I was a bit moody earlier because checked some emails. I was disappointed a bit, moody, you know, because I was hoping to get some more work because I got a few. It's gonna be last week, the week before already, you know. I did some work, and now it's already the second week, and I got $30 an hour, and I was happy, content for that, you know. So that's what it is, and you know, that could be a set for the Dragon Army. SSD, $30 an hour, plus access to all hotels, ALL, all hotels across the 63, all motels, public-private partnership, you know, for total security, total service, total defense, and all hotels, and also for food vouchers, a meal a day, any fast food or restaurant with, you know, let's say a cap of XYZ, I guess $50, food vouchers for the Dragon Army. We gotta get ready. We gotta get doing. And my brothers and sisters, you know, who are undocumented / illegal, you know, we gotta give some amnesty to them. Work some amnesty so that they can build in the 44 tunnels, the 44 tunnels, and in case of a thermonuclear war, because you see now what's happening. Putin and Russia has built incredible mass destruction ICBM rockets. It's satellites in the sky. I mean, what a paradox, eh? USSR, after the fall of the USSR, of course, the official dissolution in 1991, who would have thought that Russia now in post-COVID Russia, you know, that they will build a little bit of that, you know, that they will build some of that, you know, so many things, you know, that we're gonna build in terms of nuclear weaponry and ICBM rockets. And you see this beautiful. That's how we're gonna get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on the drill, you know. So we gotta get doing on the love side of things, you know, to get it on the do, and sometimes we gotta get it on the love side of things, and that's how we gotta get it on the doers, butchers, bakers, and nurses, and doctors, and firefighters. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. We gotta get it for the SSD, you know. So again, restraint with that and sportsmanship, that's how we gotta get doing, and that's how we gotta get it on the left side of things, you know. For the left, for the right, for the butchers, for the bakers, and for the nurses, for the doctors, and for the firefighters, and the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved, you know, in the production, distribution of food, you know. That's what we gotta get doing with that, you know. We gotta get doing on them and for them, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. For the left, right, and Z, you know. That's what we gotta get doing on the XYZ, you know. That's what we gotta get doing on the left side and the right side, and you know we got this was it. You throw probably. That's what I gotta get doing. Hey, this is nice. I love this. Nice job, man. Thank you to the public workers. That's why they can, you know, channel the creativity. Channel the creativity. I admire the athletics and its sports, and that's what I'm going to do. But wow, what a great job here. Wow, thank you, public workers. It's really nice. I love the blue, and it's really nice, man. This is what we need to be building across the North American Collective, you know, and that's why we gotta get that Dragonomy, total integration, SSD, you know. Super nice, super fit, and that's what we gotta get doing on that rock and roll. They're flipping and flopping. I wish I could do that. I'm not able to do that, but it's quite nice. It's flipping on that flop, man. Nice, man. Gonna wait a bit, the pipes, you know, put the pipes clear underneath, about 10 seconds, because you might get some rust, you know. If I get some rust, water, you know, that's why I always count to 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You never know, you get some rust, man. So always wait a few seconds and then drink, hydrate, you know. That's how I do it. Anyways, it's a nice place. Good job what they did here. I really love it. Good job, good job, good job. Good job, good job, good job, I guess. That's what we gotta get doing, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling with that, you know. So we gotta get drilled, man. So we gotta get doing with that, man. It's a nice. So we gotta get rock and rolling, man. This is a nice place, and that's how we gotta get drilling, you know, for the XYZ and for the blues, for those who build all this, and that's why you gotta get consequential. And I gotta say salute. Proud of the construction workers, proud of those who build this, you know. If you check my past videos, he was in the works, and we need mass public works to do, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, you know. So you gotta get that rock and roll, man. Yeah, that's how we gotta get, man. Just happy now today. You know, I was moody, but now I'm happy. I see people working out, training, exercising, and the youth at play safely and secure and having fun. And I'm gonna go have fun and exercise. Is something that I have with them, and we'll go, you know, for the mass financing across the North American Collective. And here we are, you know, for the left and for the right, and in the middle again, restraint and sportsmanship, sportsmanship, sportsmanship. You know, that's what we got, and it's sportsmanship, and that's how we gotta get doing with the drill, and that's how we gotta get those clouds coming. So maybe some thunder on the way, maybe later, maybe this afternoon, and I don't know, but I do know that I don't mind thunderstorms. I'm going to the mountain anyway, and of course when I go to the mountain, you see, sometimes I go there solo. when it's winter time, and when it's of course storms and winter, and that's what I gotta get doing, man. As I do it today in my second home, and I just love, and it's kind of eerie because it's strike, it's a public transit strike, and I totally understand, because it's unprecedented levels of debt, and credit card debt, and it's tough times. Hey, me too. You see hundreds of my videos. Sometimes I eat, I found food on the streets and I eat. Sometimes I find food on the street and I eat. Sometimes I find food and I eat. That's what it is, man. You gotta be prudent on the road, and just prudent on the road, You gotta get your turning over the heads left and right, and see, they gotta stop there, but it's not guaranteed that the car stops, because of the brakes. Sometimes malfunctions. The brakes malfunction potentially. The brakes. Oh, you got beautiful flowers there. Nice. I just love yellow flowers. I love all flowers, but yellow just makes me a little bit of joyous. Adds a little bit of joy. So on the street you gotta be prudent, because now I'm in the public, So being that I'm in the public, of course, I got added responsibilities and obligations. I'm gonna take a look at the peak of the flowers here. These are really nice. Those are really nice. Those are bright ones, Those are nice ones, and those two, see? They're kind of nice. All of these flowers are beautiful. Oh, they got there also. So, kind of nice. I like it. Be embellished, It's really embellishment of the streets here, That's what it is, and that's what we gotta get doing, man. And my citizens here, a little bit of joy and get a little bit of that love, for the senior citizens who built the North American Collectif, the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, and I had the privilege and opportunity compensated monetarily. Also, I was compensated monetarily during the coronavirus that I worked with the senior citizens, and it was a nice experience. But the problem in my community, the Aspie community, is that we're very awkward socially. So the way we are socially awkward is the way we interact sometimes with other people that seems strange and bizarre, and sometimes we're direct and offended, and that's how we gotta get doing with the drill, So sometimes we gotta get on that love side of things, and we gotta get it on love, man, But understanding what Asperger's is. So I'm just gonna dedicate a 5 minutes rant, I guess, a discourse, mini lecture on Asperger's. So I'm an Aspie. I've been diagnosed by several individuals for years, and I've refused to accept it, because about 7 or 8 years ago it was still, it's still a label, and there's still a lot of misunderstandings of what Asperger's really is. So it's this neurological mental divergent condition. Our brains have these mutations, and the origins is inconclusive. So there's no specific cause for Asperger's. There's no specific cause. It's partially hereditary, partially biologically, hereditary that is, and partially environmental. So it can be a combination of both the environment and of course the environment, and of course the environment, and of course the environment, and the hereditary factors. So it's a combination. It's a combination usually. So these mutations make us predisposed to certain characteristics, because they're not symptoms. Symptoms is for a mental illness. So these symptoms can reflect themselves, can of course be reflected in a specific manner, such as repetition of words or phrases. I might repeat things 2-3 times, Also, echolalia is a characteristic, not a symptom again. So echolalia, we might say the same sentence, exact same paragraph as somebody else might say. For example, you would say, the National Guard was sent into LA. I would say the National Guard was sent into LA. Or he would say, I am a proud homosexual, and I would say I'm a proud homosexual. So although I'm part of the LGBTQ community myself, I'm androgynous pansexual, you get 50-50, so I am Rainbow Dragon. Rainbow Dragon gonna spit that fire anyways. All you would say, this house looks really beautiful, makes me think of Baroque architecture. So I would say the exact same, or an Aspie might say the exact same sentence phrase. This house looks very nice, I like the Baroque architecture. So verbatim per verbatim, meaning word for word and sentence for sentence, sentence for sentence, and word for word, So that would be whatever the characteristics are. And so, of course, those are the characteristics. Those are the characteristics. So those characteristics, they're not symptoms, might seem very weird, very strange, very awkward, right? So Asperger's is not a common condition, not a common neurological mental divergent condition. It's less than 1%, less than 1%, less than 0.5%, about 0.44%. So you can imagine that 0.44% is not a lot. It can maybe be not even 1 out of 300. 1 out of 300 maybe. So we have also what's known as special interest, also known as obsessive interest, and these routines. And of course, if you check my videos for years and years and years, my routines usually revolve around 3 special main interests: geopolitics, rock and roll, and sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport. And I don't like violence myself, but I am hyper vigilant, because Asperger's problem is it's often misconstrued as a mental illness, and there's a lot of abuse that Aspies are subject to, a lot of abuse. So gotta give a shout out to a fellow Aspie who last year, about September, October, or November, I got a double check, sent me $25.44. I got bacon, affordable wine, I think it was $9.15 or something like that, below $10. I got some bacon and I got some bread. So look at that beautiful flower there. Isn't that gorgeous? So basically I spend it on food. That is beautiful. These ones also, wow, these are really gorgeous. Really beautiful. So fluffy, so luscious. Just embellishes the whole day. I don't know I forget the name sometimes because my specialty is geopolitics, and I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Is one of my special trinity of special interest. And we Aspies, when we comes, that's basically our whole daily routine, our whole life revolves around those special interests. And those special interests vary. Of course, they're not the same. It could be some Aspie might know everything there is about cars. I'm just gonna go smell that a bit. It's gonna turn my head because it's something which we got and something which we got that, So, and the way we show empathy and compassion is always misunderstood because we don't necessarily verbalize it. We will show action, concrete action, if we can do something for an individual. So a lot of it smells so good. A lot of that misunderstanding comes from us showing compassion by action rather than verbal consolation. And there's a lot of misunderstanding that Aspies, like myself, who have Asperger's, that we're not compassionate or don't have empathy. We do have empathy, we just show it. We just show it by action, show it differently. We show it differently. Show it differently. That's what we gotta get doing. So show it differently. The way we show it. I make a notice now and just I kind of like that house there, how it is. Seems to have 4 different addresses, but I kind of like how it's there. I would like to have some pink on it. If it would be mine, I would paint a little bit pink and white, the back goes, or half like pinkish, something pink. Anyways, so is this mental divergence, because our brains, an Aspie brain is just different than the normal brain, and I'm putting in quotation normal, the 99.56%. According to an ABC documentary came about. I watched a bit of it. I fell asleep because it was late, but I have to watch it again. I watched it about 4 years ago during COVID, because about when I started accepting it, because I've accepted that I have Asperger's about 3.5 years ago, I would say, during COVID. So it hasn't been that long, but for years and years and years I've been told, that you have Asperger's, about Asperger's. And thank you to my anonymous friend who gifted me a great book to understand more and see where my vulnerabilities are as an Aspie. It's called Understanding. Actually, it's called Appreciating Asperger Syndrome. Appreciating, because we have strengths, we have great forces, we have great capabilities, but the problem is that in the social sphere, social communications, interaction, there's a lot of rejection. Usually Aspies maintaining friendships, not have a lot of friends, social isolation, self-harm, bullying, self-harm, and self-isolation, bullying, self-harm are evident for Aspies, right? It's a very high. So listen to this statistic. So Aspies, and I lived through this, the rates of being suicidal and depression rates for Aspies are 9 times more. 9 times more. So for one normal, there's 9 Aspies. And the reverse, we're a tiny community, right? That's where the problem lies. So we're a small percentage of the population, 0.44%. But the rates of suicide and depression are super high, 9 times more than the majority, the 99.56%. 9 times. Depression rates and suicidal rates among people with Asperger's. You can imagine. That's 9 times. I lived through it. Crossing Canada in 2017, I always revert back to that moment, and crossing Canada 2017 changed my whole life. That's why I have been in and have written a protocol, the initiative, the Public-Private Partnership Initiative, for the mass financing of tourism across the North American Collective, for the mass financing of tourism across the North American Collective, for the mass financing of tourism across the North American Collective. That's all we gotta get doing with that, and kind of check if I get to pass here, because you never know, might not see me and might press the accelerator instead of the brake, and that's how we rock and roll with that. If they presses the accelerator instead of the brake, value of the body's a temple for pleasure and purpose. So those are things which we have to consider under the normal circumstances of life, how we relate to the world. We see the world differently, and of course also parallel to high depression and suicidal rates, the unemployment. My unemployment. I had many jobs during COVID, and that's how we got some work here, and gotta salute the workers, and that's what we got, and gotta get on that labor things, and that's why we gotta get drilling, and we gotta get on that though, and that's how we gotta get on the love side of things, So something which we gotta say, that the unemployment rate is 11 times higher. 11 times higher. Again, paradoxically, we are a small minority, very, very few, tiny, small minority of the population of North America has Asperger's, about 0.44%. So the high unemployment rate is problematic, 11 times. So for one, quote-unquote, normal citizen, who's part of the 99.56% neurotypical population, you have the neurodivergent population who, for one neurotypical, you have 11 Aspies who are unemployed. And again, it's because of this misunderstanding. It's not an illness, it's not a malady that it's contagious, that you can catch. You cannot catch. Gotta send some love to the public workers. Thank you for picking up the garbage, keeping our streets sanitary, safe for the children. Sanitation is health and wellness, just like I'm doing now, investing in my health, and have been investing ever since I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017, and coast to coast, I crossed Canada in 2017, and that event made me come out of my depression. I was depressed, I was suicidal, and I used to live a few miles kilometers that way, in a very small moldy place, So I gotta check a little bit. Some that way. Oxford, no. It was Maybe this July 1st is gonna be 9 or 10 years. I gotta double check. So either it's gonna be 9 years, 9 years, 9 years, 9 years. I'll check here, 9 years. So it is gonna be 9 years since, of course, I moved, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing. 9 years, you know, 9 years or 10. So it was either 2016 or 2015. I moved. I was like living in a small prison cell, small prison cell type of prison cell, you know. It was very moldy, and my memory after 11 years is like a blackout. I live with plenty of scars. I gotta go retrieve. I have to go before summer. I'm gonna try to go before summer. So, and next week I have to go for my teeth also. And I'm still waiting for a medical doctor. I'm still waiting for a family doctor. And that's what we got. And wow, that's what we got. And wow, I love the yellow combination, the red and the flaming orange. I just love it. Good job here. Around the tree, like in a circle, and these little ones there. Wow, it's so cool. Like circular. I love that. Kind of circle in symmetry, and it's really good. One of the best I've seen on the way. I love that garden, and I love yellow flowers, as you know. So Asperger's again is this neurological mental divergent condition. It makes us, you know, predisposed to those special interests, and those special interests are 24/7. And again, you know, I lived myself. I was attacked by trauma several times. I was attacked by surprise, you know, attacked by surprise a few years ago. Fell, hit my head, and had a dislocated right arm. Had a dislocated right arm, you know. Had a dislocated right arm. Went to the Jewish general. Was kind of cracked back. Because I was bloodied up, and fell, hit my head. I was attacked by surprise in the Montreal metro. So I went to, the Jewish general, got cracked back. The right arm was dislocated. The shoulder dislocated. So the whole arm was dislocated, and I was all bloodied up, and I survived. I guess they tried to take me out several times. I guess, like, I'm no Trump supporter, no MAGA. I would have voted Biden and Harris, but I guess Donald Trump also survived his assassination attempt. So I guess besides that, we don't have much in common, and the only thing maybe we have in common besides that is fusing Canada and United States, but Granddaddy Trump not by tariffs, not a way to invite us, bake some pies across the 50 states. And my vision to fuse in a democratic Republican PPP, public-private partnership best, for the creation of the SSD Legion. Merged Canadian all police forces, all security forces, RCMP, all police forces, and all public security forces apparatus with some private CIA, CSIS, RCMP, and the Canadian military into the contingent mobilization 1% of additional population who has lived here in North America since the past 7 years, since 2017, to create the North American Integrated SSD Legion. Security service and defense coast to coast, Montreal to San Francisco, for the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories best. For the 63 across the North American Collective. And that's how we gotta get doing with that, and gotta salute the workers there. See, that's hard labor they're doing, putting in the bags, and it's starting to get a little bit of thunderous as I go to the mountains. So we're gonna get that part 1, I guess, and we're gonna see how it goes. Maybe we're gonna have to stop and interrupt, and gotta get out of the way here. We're gonna put my raincoat, and for protection, my anonymous friend, thank you for giving me the raincoat. And see, that's a lion, Lion, like the beast, right here. Like I have that Canada tatted up. See, and that's electric. So we need to get Lion and public-private partnership, maybe with Tesla and other, to mass build. 300 Dragon Army for SSD, total security, total service, total defense, based on my CIT and my total mobile defense theory, because that's what I'm good at, geopolitics, and of course, that's my special interest, and I gotta say and repeat that us as Quebecers, Canadians, our main and most important geopolitical interest is to have the best, most cordial relations with my brothers and sisters in the United States, and that is vice versa, and I'm gonna get on it before I discuss the DRT. I'm just gonna put the raincoat, and I got those red gloves, because you know, Granddaddy Trump, that was a mistake to impose tariffs on Canada, aluminum and steel back in 2018, as was a mistake, the new tariffs, you know that. And yes, well, we are vulnerable, as I have my own vulnerabilities and had them as an ASPE, you know. I had to learn the hard way many things, but thanks to those books my anonymous friend gifted me, and understanding that I am different and I have Asperger's, I have my strengths as a democratic Republican, pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. I believe my theory is best for the North American collective to fuse the North American collective civilizational complex, and of course in an ideational manner for total security, total service, total defense, best. And my brothers and sisters now in LA wearing the uniform, sportsmanship. I'm gonna watch you like from Hawk Island. All our police and armed forces, you know, we need to put a new protocol. We need to go change some diapers in the daycares as well to see who we're fighting for. The youth, the children. The youth are innocent, of course. The youth and the children are innocent, so we got to rock and roll drill with that, and that's all we got to get doing. We got to get that vision, and we got to get serious to get some amnesty, and also parallel to implementation of my Trinity theories and the total mobile defense theory, the TM, total mobile defense theory, TMDT, and the Operation Northern Scorpion. Maybe we get Mexico involved to make some sort of amnesty and deals to build, construct 44 tunnels across the North American complex, to build, construct 44 tunnels, to build and construct 44 tunnels, to build and construct 44 tunnels across the North American collective. So building those 44 tunnels will mean that, of course, building them, the 44 tunnels, constructing them would mean that we'll be protected in case of a thermonuclear war, BM rockets. Please don't leave garbage here. I'm going to assess if it's a security concern. There might be some security or concern, or somebody will come back for it, but these have to be properly recycled. I don't have gloves really that I can use, and you know, we need to properly recycle and dispose of them properly. This is not the place. And of course, children might come and play, you know, there, and might be a risk. So we got a lot of work to do. Dragon Army, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, you know, and gonna assess, and there's a slight risk, you know, to certain citizens, so that's why we have to put it in and discard of that, and we got to put it in the garbage bins. And you know, I'm actually gonna do it myself, so let's see where a big garbage bins are. Those are recycling, and let me see if there's a big garbage somewhere. There's a garbage there, so that's all we need to do. And because there's some rusted metal, although that has to be properly disposed of, you know, that has to be brought, but I'm not, you know, it's not the DGA on the ground to get it in, but those have to be disposed properly. Because there's, of course, knives or what have you. So it's, if a child here comes in the bus with the mothers, and the children puts their hand in there, that's gonna, of course, create some damage. So the best way, although it's not the best, is for me to just empty this into the garbage. Empty this into the garbage here. Put the garbage properly here, see? Empty that into the garbage. And a little citizen duty, and yes, I get dirty, but I get back clean myself. And empty these there in the garbage bin. Replace the garbage bin up. Yeah, it's been from the construction, I understand, but that has to be disposed of well. Smelly a little bit, although those electronics, please do your due diligence. But now, because of safety to the children, which of course can go there and can listen, there was some pointy stuff, and this I'm gonna recycle. So this can be recycled, right? So I'm doing half. I made a compromise, you know. Gonna wait here between the safety and the children and make a compromise with that, and that's all we gotta get doing here, you know. Please be careful, don't leave that, and this is gonna be recycled, and that goes in the garbage, because that, a child would have put a hand in it, and of course the children safety first, children are innocent, and you know, that I can do a little bit of.
So maybe tomorrow, right?
Watch the car, lady. So you're crossing on the red, you know. If you're crossing on the red, you gotta watch the cars, because you're crossing on the red with the phone. With the phone on the red, be careful, you know. If it's not that important, maybe the call, you know. Even if you're selling, buying, trading future options puts, $1 million, you know. Money, what can I say about money? I don't have money, but the body first, you know. Body first. I don't have any money in me, but maybe the call is important. You get paid $1 million an hour, but you crossed on red with the phone, you know. So it's not to be a independent citizen police. Is sometimes it requires safety, you know. Otherwise, in the public, we got other responsibilities and obligations, you know, in the public sphere. That's the problem. And yes, me, I'm an aspie, so certain things I don't get socially, but I know traffic. And I actually calculated in my head her velocity, her speed, compared to of course, the speed of the car. So this is where it has to go, compared to the speed of the car, you know. So that's the calculation with the speed of the car and her velocity. And I calculated she was at risk. You saw it clearly on the video. So gotta watch my fellow citizens like a hawk. That's what I'm watching it from here, like a hawk, you know, in LA. My brothers and sisters, Marines, and the National Guard, and you gotta be careful and prudent, you know. You gotta be careful and prudent, and please, sportsmanship. I don't want any abuse of force, any violence. And my brothers and sisters, protesters, don't spit, don't throw things. We're gonna get this solved. We gotta get it solved. We gotta get some amnesty. Please, we gotta get some amnesty. I understand, I guess, if, you know, you had 44 convictions in the past 3.5 years, you know, or in the past 7 years, you're 44 criminal convictions. I understand. We got to discern. Everybody deserves second, third chances. And as I, you know, rock and roll for my brothers and sisters in uniform, so I got to rock and roll for my brothers and sisters, you know, who do their criminal rehabilitation, you know, as it starts here getting on that stormy side. And I got to get my neighborhood. That's my old neighborhood there. Old neighborhood there, and that's all we gotta get doing on that. That's all we gotta get doing on left YZ. So that's all we gotta get doing, you know. So it's not a problem. We're gonna get that rock and roll. And I'm a centrist, pro-labor and love, universal revolutionary centrist. My centrism is tied hand in hand with my Trinity of theories. So my centrism is different. I'm gonna cross the other street. So my centrism is public-private partnership based, and of course is tied hand in hand with, of course, my Trinity of theories: the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, debt fusion theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory. As I cross here the street prudently, and that's why we gotta go, even if it's one way here. Somebody can not know and come for the other side. So that's why I recommend waiting and until the light comes, you know. That's how we gotta get doing. And I wonder when this building was built and how many people are late on the rent. I paid my rent. It is June 10th already. Wow. It is June 10th already. June 10th. So I gotta be grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, and I gotta watch them like a hawk. My fellow citizens, they're gonna salute. Thank you for keeping the streets clean and secure, and that's how we're gonna rock and roll for them. And get it on the go and get it on that love, and gotta get it for them, man. Salute, salute. Gotta salute. Send some salutations, keep the streets clean, you know. Otherwise we'll be extra sanitation, more disease, more illness, you know. We got public sanitation, we got public sanitation, you know. We got public sanitation, public sanitation. That's all we got. Public sanitation with that, and super important, you know, to get those public sanitations, man, you know. That's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll, you know. It's there for the go, you know. So it's something which we gotta be doing, man, you know. So we gotta get on that double trouble, man. Gotta get doing, and we gotta get being. And here's my own neighborhood beginning there at the corner. My own neighborhood commences at the corner. My own neighborhood commences. Kind of right here is the demarcation, you know, as I'm about to go up, and I got 7 seconds. Should I go for it, run it, or just zigzag it? I'm just gonna zigzag and go like that, like a snake with that, and that's how we're gonna go drilling, like that, you know. So we're gonna get doing on the drills, and so we're gonna go doing, man. Gotta salute the workers, public workers here, and here's my own neighborhood commences, you know, right here. Gotta salute the firefighters, salute the firefighters, salute the firefighters, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that. And gotta salute the firefighters on the go, and that's how we gotta get drilling, you know. Always drill, 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 and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, man, you know. 24/7. This is the Cuban consulate, I believe. Cuban consulate, see? A flag there, see? That's the flag. That's the Consulate General, I think. Yeah, that's the consulate. That's what it is, that, man. And Cuba's part of North America, you know. And here I kind of step a bit in my own neighborhood, nothing that I will to go back to, you know. It's carpe diem every day since I died of COVID. Since I died of COVID in 2020, you know. 2020 since I died of COVID. That's what it is with that, and that's how we're gonna get drilling, man, you know. 2020. That's that consulate for the go, and that's that go for the left, right, Z, and east, west, north, south, you know, the North American Collective. A little beautiful flowers here, and I'm just stepping in my own neighborhood. Sometimes I still go shopping because they got good deals, but I mean, I nothing that I will to go back to, you know. I used to live in a very moldy place, very moldy place, you know. Extremely moldy place. Underground basement. It was like a prison cell, so I guess I served my time, you know. I guess I served my time, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. So I guess I served my time, you know. So having served my time, was depressed, suicidal, across Canada, coast to coast. That event got me out of being depressed and being suicidal back then, you know. I was kind of on the verge of taking my life, and crossing Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and my brothers and sisters in the USA, the 50. Let's get that admission to the Union. Admission to the Union, admission to the Union. And us together, it's gonna put great things we're gonna achieve together in a more centrist way, public-private partnership manner. It's important for the 21st century that we really mass finance fitness. Mass finance fitness, mass finance fitness. Super important, mass finance fitness. Super important to mass finance fitness and mass finance tourism. I wrote several protocols. The Public-Private Partnership Initiative for the North American Collective Citizen Wellness. I started most of my work 3 days after I crossed Canada coast to coast, and I come out of being depressed and suicidal. And most of my work, of course, deals for mass financing citizens' wellness, mass financing citizen wellness, and mass financing tourism, tourist activities. Because it did me great good. I came out of being depressed. I had a revelation when I arrived at Banff. It was like a mountainous heaven. I still remember it, because my memory is well in the past 7, 8, 9 years. It's after 9, 10 years, it gets blurred up a bit. 11, then it's like a blackout of my memory. You know, we got that raw retrograde amnesia, and sometimes it's prolonged illness, or I don't know if I drank a lot of alcohol. if I was, I don't drink much, very, very rarely, and I don't smoke cannabis, I don't do drugs. Well, cannabis is legal, so once in every years or so, I bought some the other day because I said, hey, made a little bit of money, and I bought the most affordable on the market. It's legal, by the way. Since 2019, cannabis consumption, cannabis production is legal in Canada, but you got to get permits. Just like we're going to get permits for the SSD, for the Dragon Army, public-private partnership, based on my philosophies as a citizen, philosopher, artist, athlete, geopolitical, theoretical, analyst, and theorist. See how my brain now works? Now that I'm visioning, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing these cars, I'm seeing the trucks, I'm seeing the highways going north. These are going north, the other ones are going south. I know they're going north-south. Some are maybe going to the border, and my brain switches to geopolitics. And I know that we're vulnerable for sabotage and espionage, because my main concern is that foreign powers are financing lots of the unrest and the riots in LA. That's my main concern, to be honest, as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And of course, the politicizing criminal underworld organizations for damaging Canada and the United States, because we've seen a rise, of course, in crimes, and of course got to salute the firefighters. So that is my main concern at the moment. We might be hit from the east and from the west, jointly by nations putting together underworld and of course secret police, for us to be vulnerable, of course, for the situation where we have our vulnerabilities as a society, as a North American collective. You know, our diversities can sometimes be used against us. Our openness, our open spaces sometimes can be used by nefarious foreign powers which want our downfall. So we have to be, as a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Now, of course, I did the deep meditation, and of course that was the meditation that I did right there. So basically, of course, we're open for sabotage and espionage. So last time we went like this, and now we're gonna go the other way. We're gonna go like that, all the way to the mountain by another route, because we gotta change sometimes. Although I have my ASPE routine, my Asperger's routine for years and years and years is workout, train, fitness, and we Aspies have a type of rigid routine where we're involved. Most of the things we're involved with have to do with our special interest, and mine is geopolitics. And now, of course, my brain switches to geopolitical theoretical analysis. So this theoretical analysis, being that I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, I take great pride in my work. I gotta say that I predicted what's happening now. I predicted what's happening now back in 2020. But actually, before I had COVID, 2019, I have proof of work. In October, November 2019. So even before I had COVID in 2020, which I survived, I got triple vaxxed. Encourage all, of course, to keep the protocols of public hygiene of COVID. So back in 2019, in October, November, that's what I did. And I predicted. I have the proof, the video proof. I made a World War III scenario, and I even created a workout training program system, designed, made, and created to work out, train, produce, and that's what it is. To train, produce, and that's what it is. And to train and produce. I made a workout training program system, simple, effective, and efficient, which requires no equipment, back in 2019, of which myself I've performed and did more than 372 sessions. I did more than 372 sessions. More than 372. When I reached 300, I of course changed my surname. Nobody's born a dragon. You become one is the motto of the Dragon Army. So changed my surname. A became an O. And I'm about to change my name, although I still gotta get that paper, because I don't have money to change officially my name. But that's all we gotta get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing on the go, and gonna get it on the love side of things, and we gotta get a little bit of that loving for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, those daycare workers, changing some diapers. My mind is always constantly involved in geopolitics on one level or another, or sports and fitness, or of course rock and roll. That's my holy trinity: sports, fitness, and rock and roll. That's what it is with that, and that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with the go, for the XYZ, and loving the things that we do today. And that's how we gotta get loving with that, man. we gotta get it on the side of things and get it for here, my own neighborhood. Nothing that I will to go back to, but just passing through my own neighborhood, and super important to channel the aggression, channel the violence, and do a bit of that exercise and get it on the go here, you know. So getting a little bit of that, a little rain, I guess, and I guess some thunder and get some rain and get that Jacques Cartier and cross the street here prudently. I gotta watch my youth like a hawk, you know, like a hawk, H-A-W-K. So I watch the youth, not nobody that gets hit by a car under my watch, you know. My brothers and sisters, this is nice. I like the mountains. Mountains. Makes me think of the mountains where we're going to. We're actually already a little bit on the mountain because it's big, eh? The mountain system. Mountain system is 3 peaks. The mountain system, and that's how we gotta get doing with the heavens with that, and gotta get on that rock and roll, man. Passing through the side, and that's how we gotta get doing, man. There we go. We made it. We made it a little bit, and we made it on the go, and we made it here, you know, to get it all the way down. What is that? I'm always curious about the stickers, you know. Stickers. Different stickers, I guess, everywhere. And some put some funny stickers, some put some I don't get it stickers, some put some hey. So yes, back to Asperger's, just to finalize. Aspiness is sometimes weird and awkward and seemingly extremely strange, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. Seemingly strange and awkward, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. So it's just, there's no medication, eh? You cannot medicate aspiness away. You can't medicate aspiness away. Hey, is that a dragon? My eyes sometimes see blurred from afar, but he looks like a dragon, eh? Looks like a dragon. Well, there's that thunder, lightning. There's a lot of Master God, Goddess, God, Goddess, God, Goddess of the universe. So the voice of the reconciliation of the two. Brothers or uncle? Brother or uncle, uncle, brother? Remains to be open question, eh? Because we got some serious myths, you know, which are not totally concorded or totally into the pyramid text, according to the pyramid text. But here we are going to the mountain, and you know, we gotta get some justice, of course. My brothers and sisters who lost their liberty, freedom, you know. We need to get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act to build those 44 tunnels. I've written in the past 7 years, lots of different documents, and I've spoken about them, dictated them mostly in an oral communicative manner, because I guess when I speak about my geopolitical theories and ideas for what I call the North American complex and the fusion thereof, is mostly for security, service, and defense, and extending it thereafter, second place, to the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And of course, after that, extending it for world peace as well, because I am a world peace advocate. I have been, but of course, I have been a world peace advocate. But of course, I've also predicted what's happening now. So as much as I pronounce myself and know intellectually, academically, philosophically, of course, know intellectually, academically, philosophically, the theories, the propositions, and the philosophies of different nation states and ideologies. That's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, man, because I know North America as much as I know the ideologies of Putin, and important to know and get a little bit of that Hydro-Quebec, saluting the workers. See, we got Arbeit, and I love work, man. I love work. I love being physically fit. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds, but the problem is the obstacles, the sufferings is Asperger's, and being an Aspie has, of course, made me, of course, vulnerable to these conditions and these things, of course, of which are, as an Aspie, gotta get it for the, here says, use the other one. use the other one. So I'm just gonna cross because they were working. So Hydro-Quebec workers. Okay, so here the best way for me because of the cars is best if I just go with the lights because of how the curb is. So I assess a bit of the speed and velocity of the car. So security assessments. I'm not an expert in security. My expertise is really geopolitics, right? So that's what I'm best known for. Geopolitics, but of course it requires a little bit of knowledge and information, as of course mathematically I have to go to the best way possible and descend a little bit, and how we're gonna go for the descending and get a little bit of that rock and roll there, and that's how we're gonna get drilling. Wait for the best way for me, safer, because now it's even raining so they might not see me. The best way for me to cross the street would be of course when it's on the red there, to get it on the go now, and that's how we gotta do a little bit of that dancing is my favorite sport, and that's how we're gonna rock and roll with that, man. We're gonna wait here because if I go there it's too many of us, and me with my weird aspiness, and now I'm just gonna cross the street and put the camera here to my place, and that's what we're gonna rock and roll. Dancing is my favorite sport. Keep it up. And I think I'm gonna have to cancel this one now and try to go all the way up. Actually, we're gonna drill it close to my heart, so now I'm gonna bend my face a bit